Are you looking for ways to make things more fun and engaging in your classroom this November? If so, you're in luck, because in today's episode of Elevating Early Childhood, I'll be sharing 12 fun, exciting, engaging, and developmentally appropriate ways to spice things up this Thanksgiving. Oh, and before I forget, I wanted to let you know that we have opened our voicemail messaging system to the public. So if you have a burning teaching question that you would like me to answer here on Elevating Early Childhood, then all you have to do is go to prekpages.com/listen and leave your voicemail message there. And if you're watching along, look below this video, click on the little down arrow where it says more, and you can grab the link and go there right now before you forget and leave your question. All right, now on with the show. There are 12 different ideas and activities that I'll be sharing for November in this episode, and they kind of fall into two categories. The first category is spicing up your centers, so center activities. And the second category is more teacher resources or ideas that you can use for if you're going to have a fall celebration or a harvest celebration. The first one, and I'm going to look at my list here real quick, is turkey Play-Doh. And I know you're like, well, that's easy, Vanessa, but this is super fun. And I love, love, love my Play-Doh trays, or any type of loose parts that you can put in your Play-Doh area. Some people like to keep their Play-Doh like in the art center, and other people like to have it as a standalone center. Other people like to have it in special places throughout the room, different places, wherever you have like a wet dry area, like a tiled area. I always like to have it as a standalone center because I felt like it was a powerhouse center, just like blocks and dramatic play. Like kids just loved Play-Doh, especially because I make my own Play-Doh. By me, I mean my husband is a master Play-Doh maker, and we have a link to our favorite recipe for you in the show notes below. It is really, really good stuff, and it lasts 50 times longer than the store-bought stuff, and kids will play with it longer because the texture is so appealing. It's not dry and crumbly like store-bought, and it's not like super sticky either. It's just the right texture, and the colors are really vibrant. So first things first, you have to make some brown Play-Doh. And what I like to do when I make my Play-Doh is to use liquid watercolor to color the dough. Now, I get a lot of questions and comments whenever I talk about liquid watercolor because so many people try to make the Play-Doh and they don't use liquid watercolor, and then they can't figure out why their Play-Doh isn't vibrant. So if you want the really vibrant colors, like the picture that I'm showing you on the screen, and if you're listening along, you're going to want to hop over to Pre-K Pages and go to the Thanksgiving category, and we'll have a link for you in the show notes, or type in turkey Play-Doh. That Play-Doh is very vibrant brown color. It's not a yucky brown color, right? So you got to use liquid watercolors if you want those really vibrant colors, because food coloring can't be that vibrant. And so you look for that on sale. I usually order it online, to be honest. I'll put a link to that in the show notes too. So you get your brown Play-Doh, your homemade brown Play-Doh, I hope, because it is so much better than store-bought. And you put out some loose parts. Now in the picture here, I have some what I call biggie beads. And biggie beads are like pony beads, only bigger, hence the name, right? You can use toothpicks, you can get some wiggly eyes out, you can be creative in the different types of loose parts that you have available to your students, and you can arrange them in a lovely tray if you want to, but it's not necessary. And then you can invite them to make turkeys. Now, this is great for fine motor skills, because when kids are rolling the balls to make the turkey, and in the picture, I have two different balls of brown Play-Doh, one smaller and one larger. So the smaller one is the head, and of course the larger one is the body. And then you can put toothpicks in for the legs and some wiggly eyes for the turkey's eyes. And then they can stick the feathers in and out as well. All of that is fine motor. Rolling the balls of Play-Doh between the palms of your hand exercises the palmar arch right here. And this is where the muscles are that we need to strengthen in order to be able to to hold a writing tool eventually. So you can roll the dough, or they can rather roll the dough, make the turkey, and then they can stick the feathers in and out and put the little wiggly eyes in and out and any of the other loose parts you have. And as they're doing that, they're using their index finger and their thumb, right? And that's their pincer grasp. So that's also great for fine motor. Turkey Play-Doh is a must in your centers during November. Next up, I mentioned these two things in last week's episode of Elevating Early Childhood, which was all about how to have a socially responsible November in your classroom. And if you haven't watched that, I highly recommend you go back and do that, because that was really the impetus for this episode about what should you do in your classroom, or what can you do rather, for November. Those two things are sensory bin things, and one is corn in the sensory bin or cranberries. Now, I have always coveted the folks who live in the north where they have lots of access to fresh cranberries, because I lived in Texas for so long and I would see all these wonderful sensory bins with cranberries and I was always so jealous. And when we moved back to Massachusetts recently, I now have access to a lot of fresh cranberries, and we live not far from a cranberry bog. So I get to have all the cranberries now. It's so exciting. And so you put them in water in your sensory table, and pictured here you can see the kids using turkey basters in the water and all different kinds of tools to just play and explore, right? Super fun. Turkey basters are another great fine motor tool that you can use in this particular sensory bin as the kids squeeze the bulb at the top and they pour water on whatever you have in there. It is great fine motor. Corn is also fun if you can get ears of dried corn and they can pluck the little kernels out with tweezers. Again, excellent fine motor, but very fun and engaging. If you want to see preschoolers pay attention for a long time, put some corn in your sensory bin and watch them go, because they don't want to stop pulling out the kernels, right? What could be better than taking something apart, right? I am a former Head Start teacher, so I know all the rules around what some programs can and can't use in their sensory bins. So if you find yourself in a situation where it's against your personal philosophy to use food in sensory bin, or if it's against your program's policies, then I do have a non-food sensory bin filler blog post, which we will also link in the show notes, or go to prekpages.com and in the search box type non-food sensory fillers. Next up is a freebie mini dramatic play kit. Did I mention that I have 3 different freebies for you in this episode? So you got to keep watching so that you can find out how to get them. So the first freebie is a family Thanksgiving dinner type of dramatic play mini freebie. And so this one is super fun. So all it is, it's not about the first Thanksgiving story or anything like that. It is simply grocery shopping for a large gathering of family members. It has little table tents, so your kids can write the names of their guests, air quotes. And there's a shopping list, so they can go grocery shopping for this family gathering, this meal. And it also has placemats. So as they're setting the table, they can match the plates and the silverware and the napkins and so forth on the mat. So you can grab that in the show notes, or you can just go to Pre-K Pages and type in Thanksgiving dramatic play, and you can grab that freebie as well. And one of the things about this little Thanksgiving freebie is that I like to couple it or partner it with my dramatic play grocery store scenario in dramatic play. It's really fun because I already have all the little props, right? I have the little boxes of food from the grocery store stuffed with newspaper and taped shut. I've got bottles of different things that I have saved over the years from the recycling bin that they get to quote unquote buy. All this great stuff is out, right? And we've got the whole shopping experience with the shopping cart or the baskets. I have a lot of those little shopping baskets, and the bags and the aprons and all the goodies, all the labels, everything. And so adding this dramatic play kit to that scenario gives grocery shopping a purpose, right? Because typically we go to the grocery store, we get the groceries, we come home. So what do we do now? Well, now we have to prepare a meal. And so this kind of extends the dramatic play a little bit. Next up are coffee filter turkeys. And I know, before anyone comes after me, because I always say I don't do crafts, this is what I consider a fine motor exercise. Now, if a fine motor exercise resembles a craft, that's great. Whatever works for you. But this is coffee filters, the cheap ones, right? The round, cheap coffee filters from the dollar store. And all you have to do is set some out along with pipettes. And I hope I'm saying that correctly. But pipettes, or the more commonly known term that we sometimes use in early childhood, is eyedroppers, right? And so they just have a little bulb on the end that kids squeeze, and you're going to put out some liquid watercolors, and they can pick that up in the pipette and they can drop it on the coffee filter. Now, not everyone has a bunch of liquid watercolors, and they can stain sometimes, not when you use them in Play-Doh though. So you might want to use dried up Crayola markers, or whatever kind of markers you have, in a cup of water, and then it creates like your own liquid watercolor, right? Don't put all the different colors in one cup, like put the colors in, you know what I mean, individual cups. And then they can use that colored water, that type of watercolor water, to drop onto their coffee filter using the pipettes. And that's great pincher grasp type of activity that they're doing when they're using the droppers to get the water and put it onto the coffee filter. And now I just let them dry. Usually I will hang them up with a clothespin on a little line that I have, and it doesn't take but 10 minutes. And once they're dry, all you have to do is take a spring-loaded clothespin and stick it on the bottom of the coffee filter. You know, you fold it up. Now you've got a little turkey, and they can make a little face to put on it, or, you know, you can decide how you want to do that part, but super fun. And it's kind of open-ended. Everyone's turkey is going to look different, right? Every coffee filter is going to look different. I always love the kids who like have to use all the colors and a lot of all the colors. And then they end up with a black turkey, and that's okay too. So that's a great way to make coffee filter turkeys. And next up, we have a few ideas that you can use for any type of celebration that you have not about the first Thanksgiving. So the first one is one that I mentioned last week, but I wanted to expand on it a little bit. It's called friendship salad, and it's something that I did in my classroom for many years, a long time. And it is super easy, but it's all about friendship and how we all together, we can work together, and we can be friends, and we can accomplish things. And so all I do is I ask the families if you're allowed. If you're not, then you can bring in the different components of the snack mix yourself, or if you have a budget for that kind of thing, go for it. But we all contribute to making this salad, if you will. And I use the term loosely. There's two versions that I've done before, so I'll share them both with you. First is to cut up fruit that the children have brought in and make a fruit salad. And that's always fun because A, they're bringing it in, so it's more meaningful to them, right? B, you don't need a whole lot of fruit. Like, I don't want some kid bringing a bunch of bananas, or several kids bringing a bunch of bananas, and then I end up with enough fruit salad for the whole school. I don't want that. So I assign like one banana to one kid, one apple to another kid. You know, we don't want too much of this fruit. I don't want fruit flies in my classroom. And then I just invite them all in small groups. They come over and we practice cutting up the fruit. Now, if you want, you can have them use, like for bananas, those are super easy to use plastic knives on. So you could do that, or you could invite them to wash the fruit and hand it to you as you go, like if you're cutting grapes up. So you're going to cut them up, different things that you want to put in there. I found that my kids would actually eat fruit salad when I put, don't laugh, but all the moms out there are probably nodding along, I put strawberry yogurt on top. Because fruit salad is not always children's favorite choice to eat. So I usually would drizzle a little strawberry yogurt on top, and then they would eat it right up. So we would make it, and then we would take turns stirring it up. And so we would go around the circle in our little small group, and each kid would take turns stirring. And I might sing a little finger play or a little song or something while they did that to keep everyone occupied. And then we would scoop the fruit salad into empty brown sugar cones. We scoop it in there just a little bit because they're little kids and they're not going to eat a lot of this fruit salad. So just a little bit. So we make the friendship salad. That's one way with the fruit. The other way is trail mix. For those of you who have to use, have certain regulations and rules about what you can and can't use in the classroom, you can use packaged pretzels, packaged goldfish, packaged Chex Mix, whatever you would usually put into a trail mix. Of course, you don't want to put anything that has nuts in it in there. And they can just take turns scooping, just a tiny scoop, right? Like the little type of scoop you would use for like lemonade powder or something, a tiny scoop. Yeah, you roll the dice. Like I have a little pocket cube and I put a picture of each of the different snacks on each side of the cube, and she rolls it and she gets a 2. So I say, okay, now you do 2 scoops of goldfish. Of course, there's like 6 goldfish in each scoop, right? It's small. And she scoops in 2 scoops. Somebody else rolls it and somebody says, they get 2 pretzels or something like that. And they put 2 pretzels in. So we're taking turns and we are making the salad or the trail mix. I call it a salad in this case. And they take turns stirring the whole thing up. And then we do the same thing where we take one, a scoop and put it into the ice cream cone, that pointy ice cream cone again. So that is how we do friendship salad. Next up is pumpkin pie in a cup. You guys, I have done this forever. I think I found the idea in one of those old school teacher magazines that are not even around anymore. They don't make anymore. And it's pumpkin pie in a cup. And in the beginning, when I used to do it, they used to sell instant pudding mix that was pumpkin. I don't know if they sell it anymore, but the last several years, people have told me they cannot find it anywhere. So the good news is even though it might not be available anymore, you can make your own. So it's just vanilla pudding in this case with a few tablespoons of pumpkin, like the canned pumpkin you would use to make a pumpkin pie. This is also a freebie. So you have a freebie picture recipe, and it's also a little sequencing activity the kids can use because they're going to be the ones making their own pumpkin pie in a cup for this particular activity. And it's very simple. It just involves graham crackers and it involves the pudding, the pumpkin, maybe a little cinnamon. And I always like to put a little dollop of whipped cream on top just because that makes kids want to eat it more. And most of my kids would eat this. I very rarely had a child who would stick their nose up at it because once they saw all their friends doing it, peer pressure is real. Scientists should study 4-year-olds eating in the classroom to see what peer pressure is like because they will all eat it. Maybe not eat it all, but they will all at least taste it. And they had a hand in making it, and that also makes them more likely to try it. So it's very easy for them to make. And I do it in small groups. We're not all making our own all at once in the whole class. No, that would not work. We are making pumpkin pie in a cup in small groups. And you can put them like on a tray as they finish making them and maybe write their little names down underneath or on their cup or something, and then chill them and then come back and eat them later, depending on how long your day is. I was deathly ill the day before Thanksgiving break. And that was the day we were doing all of our different festivities or whatever you call them. I used to buy all the things for our friendship salad because I worked in a situation where our families were not able to contribute much. So I had all the things for the salad at my house ready to go. I had everything ready to go. It was one of those sudden illnesses that hit me at like 9 o'clock at night. So I already had everything ready to go to take to school the next day. I even had the little cups for the pumpkin pie, the whole 9 yards. And I had made treat bags for them too. And I was so deathly ill, and my husband worked not far from where I taught, and I made him go in and take them all. And he hated to go into my school building. He said, it smells like kids. It smells like sweaty little kids. I was like, well, yeah. But I was really sad that I had to miss that year. So that freebie that goes along with pumpkin pie in a cup, you know the drill. If you're watching along, link in the show notes, click more to expand the box and click on the link. And if you're listening along, go to prekpages.com and type in pumpkin pie in a cup and it will pop right up. Okay, next up are popcorn turkeys. This is more if you are a room parent. I probably would not make these as a teacher just because they're a lot of work. And so it's a latex glove, like the kind that doctors wear, right? Or nurses. And you stuff it with popcorn and then you draw a little turkey on the thumb, put a little ribbon or something around its neck, and you tie off the end. And now they have this really cute popcorn turkey. I would do this as a room parent and bring one for each child. Unless you would prefer to do it yourself and do it with the children as a small group activity, you could do that. It's really more of a fun treat. And then the other one I have that's a freebie as well is Thanksgiving treat bag toppers. So remember how I was telling you when I was sick, I even had little treat bags for the kids. I had treat bag toppers. And so they're just these little, you print them out, you fold them in half, and then you can staple them to the top of a little baggie of something. This particular year when I got sick, we were making baggies of sharing salad or the friendship salad to take home, the trail mix version. So those are free for you to print out at Pre-K Pages. We also have a Thanksgiving book list at Pre-K Pages. I think it's 25 different books that you can read in November that are not focused on the first Thanksgiving story. They're focused on friendship and sharing and inclusiveness and turkeys. And we also have the song list. So if you're in need of some songs, some fun, age-appropriate kid songs, I have a list of those at Pre-K Pages as well. Again, you know the drill. And then my pumpkin Play-Doh recipe. So some folks like to try out different Play-Doh recipes throughout the year. I think that, just having one type of Play-Doh all year long would be super boring. So not only do I do lots of vibrant colors, sometimes I add in sprinkles, whatever, but this one is made with some canned pumpkin. And so if you want to get that smell, that pumpkin pie smell, and you want to have kind of that different texture or feel to your Play-Doh, try that recipe out. I think it only has a few ingredients, if I remember correctly. So you're definitely going to want to do that. So now we've talked about our centers, right? We talked about some fun ideas you can use to spice centers up. And we've talked about some ideas you can use for your harvest or your fall celebration, whatever you want to call it. Now you're going to need some small group activities, right? I have a whole bunch for you in my Thanksgiving bundle. In the bundle, we have got the GeoBoard task cards. So if you're looking for some activity to do at your math table or for your math small group, and we've got the Thanksgiving GeoBoards. They're just pictures of different common objects, right? And the kids are going to recreate those with non-rubber bands, loom bands. And then we have the pattern block mats. We know pattern blocks are super helpful to develop all sorts of skills in young children. And so we have the Thanksgiving pattern block mats. And there's like this optional math type thing on the side where they can tally up the different numbers and so forth of the shapes that they're using. Then we've got, our fun Feed the Turkey game. You guys, this is so fun. And the kids will practice feeding the turkey different numbers of items. And then we have the Play-Doh task cards. So there's some Thanksgiving Play-Doh task cards. They're instructions for kids on how to roll the different pieces and form the outline on their mat with Play-Doh. And that uses a couple different colors, but you could just use one color if that's what you have. And then we've got our literacy small group activity bundle as well. And those are activities to promote alphabet knowledge and phonological awareness skills in your kids. And again, they are fun and they are playful and developmentally appropriate. Then next up, we have our small group math activities, and that bundle is perfect for small groups in November. You've got puzzles, number puzzles, you've got all kinds of different fun small group math activities to build number sense with your students. That is what I have for you this week here in Elevating Early Childhood. I hope that you got some ideas you can take back and use in your classroom right away. If you liked any of the ideas that I shared with you today, please comment, like, share, subscribe below the video if you're watching along. And I would love it if you'd leave us a review on iTunes if you are listening. And of course, don't forget to leave me a message over at prekpages.com/listen so I can feature you on the podcast. Until next time, I'm Vanessa Levin. Onward and upward. If you think these videos are valuable, you have got to come check out the Teaching Trailblazers program. Teaching Trailblazers is the place for teachers like you to get the professional development resources and support you need to thrive. It's where you can learn relevant, life-changing best practices with professional development created specifically around the challenges early childhood teachers face. It's where you can get access to a complete research-based pre-K curriculum that you can use either to supplement your existing curriculum or use on its own to get 100% of your students kindergarten ready by the end of the year. And it's where you can hang out and connect over all things early childhood with other teachers just like you and me. It's my favorite place on earth, and it will change your teacher life, I guarantee it. Come join us at teachingtrailblazers.com to get more information and apply today. That's teachingtrailblazers.com. I can't wait to see you there.